Ladies and gentlemen, we are live a minute or two late because we had material issues. Welcome to episode number 12 with my very good friend David Bash. God, we love to do these things by the skin of our teeth, don't we, David?
Yeah, finally a technical issue that wasn't mine.
But you know what? It gets the juices flowing, it gets the blood going, and now we're on, and we got a fantastic special guest. I can't wait. I've got a little bit of an allergy thing going on, but nothing. Got a little bit of Hughes Belle of Bedford rye whiskey in case they want to send us, free promo for that. Nothing that can't help fix tonight. So here's to you, my good friend, and our material.
I'll do the diet ginger ale to you. And here's my material issues T-shirt, and I got some blueberry on it from eating oatmeal.
I kind of like it.
I tried to clean it, as you can see here, but it didn't quite work well, so it's going to need to be washed. But my rippling chest is still showing. See?
Yeah. You've got. Well, I see a 6-pack in the one corner.
It's more like a 1-pack in 6 corners. That's what I got.
I'll tell you what, my friend, we're 11 episodes in. We have had a fantastic time with some fantastic special guests. Tonight was just going to be you and I talking about some new releases and goofing off and having just a
like this one?
Like the one that you're weightlifting with right now.
It really is heavy. It's the 8 LP version of the new George Harrison All Things Must Pass 50th anniversary reissue.
Wow.
And I've heard the new mix or the remix, I should say, of the original album. And I hate to say it, but I'm a bit underwhelmed. I mean, it has some moments where you hear things you never heard, but I was expecting something revelatory, and I didn't get it. Hey, Andy.
Hey, Andy.
So I don't know. I'll have to give it another shot. I'll need to A/B it with the original, see if maybe I'm missing something here. But the Plastic Ono Band remix was awesome.
Right.
A lot of the Ram remix was awesome. So it's not like I have anything against remixes. I love them when they deliver, when they bring you stuff you've never heard before. But this one, like I said, in spots, but not what I was hoping for. But having said that, I cannot wait to hear the demos and outtakes, and that's the real reason I wanted this anyway. So we'll just have to see how that goes. But
in a future episode, you're going to give us more of a rundown on this whole thing, because this is something everybody.
If we ever have an episode with no guests, we're blessed to be booked through September 1st right now with more on the way. So
we've got Lynn Carey coming.
Oh my God, that'll be fun.
We've got Jason Faulkner coming. We've got the guys from Sun Sawed in Half coming. We've got Frank Hammersland coming.
Tell people who Frank Hammersland is.
Oh, well, Frank Hammersland, if everybody's watching, that is the main songwriter-singer for Pogo Pops and Popium, a Bergen, Norway-based artist, singer-songwriter, solo work. Fantastic. He's worked with everybody who's anybody in Norway. One of my top 5 of all-time singer-songwriters, and we're going to get the Norwegian take on things. That's September 1st, I believe that is. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about all our guests.
And we're hoping to have Cocktail Slippers the following week. I'm only mentioning it because I have a good feeling it's going to happen. Cocktail Slippers are Rena's favorite girl group of all time.
Yes, indeed.
And I certainly have them up there on my list, and they're great people as well. So,
and also
some more Norwegian, another Norwegian point of view. Yeah.
And we've got the thumbs up. We're just working on a date right now for Robert Harrison of Cotton Mather. He's a go as well, but we're just trying to figure out. So we got a lot of things going on in the next number of weeks, but I don't know about you, but I'm quite excited about tonight, my friend.
Yes, absolutely. This is indeed an honor, and it was an 11th hour honor, but, he is a busy man after all. But we got him, and, as I mentioned in my Facebook post, he's a man to whom all of us owe a great debt of gratitude. I'm so choked up I can't even say it. He's the one who, starting in the mid '90s, just completely galvanized a worldwide pop scene by starting NotLame Records, the mail order company, giving bands a home for having their music sold, and not just sold, but promoted. Because when Bruce Brodeen, when he put out his catalogs, or when he sent out an email or post on oddities, he was as enthusiastic as you could possibly get. I mean, the man's a fan. It was never really a business to him. It was always a labor of love. And, again, so many bands would not have had a platform if not for him. And since then, of course, he morphed NotLame into Pop Geek Heaven, and so many other things. And again, he has such a mystique also. And probably the most common question I would get the first few years of IPO was, is Bruce Brodeen going to be here? Nope. These people had never met him, but to them, he was a god, and deservedly so. But anyway,
I thought it was a pseudonym. I thought it was a pseudonym. I think he was under a false name. It was somebody, magical. It really was. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, he is something. He's in the pantheon. Let's bring him on right now. Without further ado, would you please give a huge Material Issues welcome to Mr. Bruce Brodeen?
There he is.
The mystique continues.
You don't know got it!
Oh, wow.
Look at that. I'm like, I can't let that just roll by.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
What did you expect, Bruce? You know me and my effusive introductions. So,
well, you guys were rolling out like what's on your desk and what you're talking about, and it gave me a little time to have a little fun. So I'm going to tell you what's on my desk. Just to get ready for this, I got my Black Rifle coffee. Very important. Look, just for you guys. Can you see this here? Oh, the light's not working. Can you see what that says? Look at that.
Genius
consciousness pills. No, powder, actually. Powder. It tastes like shite. Oh, my God.
That's how you do it.
I have my foot cream, which is actually for my elbows. My wife's going to, slay me for sharing.
Let's hope it's just for your elbows, Bruce.
I have liquid for my reading glasses. I am 59, so we have to do this kind of thing.
We're all in the same boat.
And as we're sharing box sets, I bet you I got some box sets I bet David Bash does not have.
No way!
Let's try. Let's try. Let's have some fun right out of the gate.
Can we stump David Bash? All right,
Does he have all 5 Bebop Deluxe boxes?
I have 4 of the 5.
There we go.
I got one that I don't have. Yeah.
Which one? You don't have Jurassic Plastic yet?
No, I have that.
Oh, which one don't you have?
I don't think I have Axe Victim.
Oh, yeah. Well, I love Axe Victim.
I missed it somehow. I'll get it.
Yeah, you got to get it. Hopefully Red Noise is going to come out here very soon. I know you don't have these because you're not the punk that I am with the Wire box sets.
Oh, wow. No.
I do. Wait, when did those come out?
They 2 years ago, year and a half ago.
No, I probably don't have them. I just have the CD reissues.
They're gorgeous pieces.
They really do look nice. Yeah.
Yeah, they're art. And they were very, very seminal records for me. Hugely seminal records for me back in 77, 78, 79.
Current score.
I listened to them all the time.
Current score.
Last but not least,
2, David 0.
Sorry, go ahead.
The Raw Power box set.
No, you're right. I don't have that.
You don't have that. Wait, one more.
Not a fan, unfortunately.
Do you have that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love Sparks. I have everything.
Yeah.
Well, not everything.
I have to thank my dear friend and NotLame's absolute best friend, Jim Horan, who David. For that, he bought that for me a few years back, and I was deeply touched.
Jim is one of the nicest people I've ever met.
Absolutely. I mean, legendary.
He'll never point that out. Anything he's ever done in his life, you have to pull it out of him with forceps, because he will not brag on himself ever.
Yeah, well, I've been very loud and vocal over the years that he was. I call him the MVP of NotLame recordings because from the start he was just always there to help out on the art and creative side. You know, out of 120 CDs that NotLame released, he must have done the art. Gosh, I should tally him up. I bet you he did the art close to half of them. You know, that I mean, a lot.
And that's the number of 120. That was going to be one thing I was going to ask.
Yeah, you know, I've never tallied it up. It's something like that. I'm rolling the IPO compilations in there though, so I'm kind of cheating because those are midwifed, certainly by Sir David of Bash.
Yeah, right. But that's still, I mean, 120.
Maybe 130. It might be with the IPO CDs. Get a load of this.
On that label
I don't even have. I must only have like 80 of them. Over the years.
Yeah, I know you sold them out. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a collector in the pure sense of things. I'm really kind of a Zen music aficionado. I'm kind of in the moment. Kind of thing, and I'm not really attached to the physical aspect of things, and it's really about the moment now with that. And back in the NotLame days and even Pop Geek Heaven days, people would say, hey, I'm looking for this record, I can't find it anywhere, and I would pull it off the shelf and ultimately either give or sell it to them thinking I had another copy. Well,
oh yeah,
you know the end of that,
right, yeah.
But
yeah.
But that's an interesting point when you say that you're of the moment, and there's both sides of that scale, and I'm very much like that too. I'll be into something, I hear something and enjoying it now, and it's of the moment, and I don't necessarily have to have that, and I don't go out and grab that stuff and just to have it, because I've kind of thought over the years, like, how am I ever going to even listen to something that I loved 7 years ago and dig deep in the thing, whenever at the time it was wonderful. But there's always places you can go to hear it a bit, but to support an artist that I want to see more stuff from, obviously I'm going to buy that kind of thing. And
back in the 70s, there was a commercial for a Datsun. I think it was a 240Z at the time. And the voiceover said, you won't drive your 240Z 120 miles an hour, but you know that you could. And that's why I keep my collection. That's why I don't get rid of anything. Maybe I'll never listen to it for the rest of my life, but I know that I could. And that's important to me.
I think it would be legendary. I would love to, I mean, I'm serious about this as I'm rolling it off my consciousness here into the world here. I think it would be fascinating to have some sort of picture book of the David Bash collection, where you could just sort of have an interactive kind of experience. I'm very serious actually here.
Yeah.
That it would be really fun just to sort of walk back and times and go through your collection, have you talk about it and sort of see it, because I think you have something very truly special that you've built over the years.
And I have great stories about buying. I remember where I bought so many of the things I have, and just have all kinds of stories about different record dealers and shops and experiences and the whole bit. So yeah, I would love to do that.
Yeah, it would be fun to do that as I still do publishing. And that's I'm an idea guy. So yeah, file it with 48 other in active movement role in my mind. But
let's talk about you though. That's why we're here. Where did it start, Bruce? Your musical education, the things you loved. Take us to the beginning.
Hey, do you people out there really want to hear this? Do you really want to hear this?
Well,
okay, lean in. Let me tell you a story.
There you go.
Yeah. He grew up in Boston. Just for you, David. Look what's in the background there. Can you see what's in the background there?
Yes, I can.
I'm not going to say anything, but anybody in the know, you're either you are wincing or you're smiling or you're going, what on earth is Brodeen talking about? And I had to do that for you, David.
Thank you.
No, I grew up with my mom was a church organist. My dad was a preacher. In fact, my dad was a bishop as when I was a kid.
You were son of a preacher, man?
I was the son of 3 generations of preachers.
Wow.
Yeah. Little known fact, I majored in theology in college. There, you know that, David, but
I believe we had that
Mark,
talk too.
I think I'm sure I mentioned that to you, Mark.
We had that talk in Liverpool. Yeah.
So that's very and so church music was very much imbued and washed over my soul at a very young age. So I have a deep appreciation still to classical music to this day. Pretty much almost all eras, but to me, it started like most of us here. It was, hearing the Beatles, and we had one of those old-fashioned console stereos that were made out of wood that weighed 1,200 pounds, and you drop the album into the cavern, and you would pick up the needle and drop it over and kind of try to find where it would go, and I would just listen to it was like Let It Be and Abbey Road came out. So I was 8 years old. I was born in 1962, but I've been listening to music before then too. But I had a reaction in 1969 with this, and it started for these years. It's kind of embarrassing. I would just listen and just become so incredibly immersed and overwhelmed with the literally transcendent beauty of the sounds coming out of these records. And I would lean into the console. So the console would be like this. And I would just sort of put my head and the speakers are underneath, and I would just listen. And I would stop gnawing on the edge of the console stereo. And so the stereo still is around, has all my teeth marks, all embedded on there. I just had this sort of primal reaction. But and very early on, I was a top 40 guy. WRKO in Boston was the big AM station, and that would reach almost down to Washington, D.C., I was told. And out of New York and Long Island, there were AM stations like that too. And then I just became just such a fan of funk and soul, early 70s style. But the thing that really changed it for me really was Cream magazine. I in 1971, I bought my first issue of Cream. So I was, how old? I was 9 years old. Totally warped my head reading Lester Bangs and just all those great writers that came out of that. And then Mark Bolan hit. I heard Bang a Gong. And again, I just had just a reaction that just changed me. I bought Electric Warrior with my Christmas money, and then that graduated to the MC5 and Iggy Pop and the Stooges, and very, very quickly. But at the same time, I was listening to Yes and Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and you name it, everything from soul. So I was buying all these records around that time. And just
interesting that you haven't mentioned pop yet. When does that start?
That's and then around 1974, Raspberries and Badfinger. I heard Baby Blue, and I bought the single, but for some reason it took me a few years to buy a Badfinger record. So I didn't buy a Badfinger record till around 1974, and then I proceeded to want them all, of course, but. So I started up a mail order here. I don't know if you know this guy, David or Mark, but I started up a mail order company, believe it or not.
Oh, I didn't know. Wow.
Selling not baseball cards, but coins and stamps. And
wow.
Yeah. So I was a little entrepreneurial, 12-year-old, 13-year-old. And I would send out my catalogs of offerings to people in numismatist magazines, and money would come in by the mail and with checks made out to Bruce Brodeen. And I would walk down with the little bank booklet that they used to give you and deposit it and learn how to balance checkbooks. Too bad I didn't learn how to balance checkbooks as well when I ran NotLame, but so it goes with the lessons of life. No, that's what accountants are for. And that fed my music habit. And that was the only reason. I was very intentional. I mean, I love coins and stamps. I found them interesting because I'm really into history. But that was a feeder system. And I was very, very intentional. It's like, okay, this week, what's going to come in? What's the inflow? Okay, and whatever the inflow was the full outflow of music. I mean, I didn't save anything. Nothing.
No. I was always in the red from my paper route, paper route inflow.
Did you have music outflow? Did you join a band? Did you play anything back then?
I had a band in high school. But here we go. We thought we were so clever. Buster Hyman and the Penetrators.
You heard it here first, everybody.
Well, yeah, it's out there.
Oh my God!
I imagine Buster is going to hear this because I'm still friends with him. It was named after a dear friend of mine that I've known since I was 10 years old, Mark Hyman. So it was an homage to him. Guy. Yeah. No, we were really good. The leader of the band became a teacher at the Berklee School of Music. He's in Boston still, and he's been a professor for 35 years. He was still is immensely talented, and we were really good. We had probably like 90 songs in our repertoire, and we played. Get a load of this. Is that we were really inspired by the Boston music scene at that time. So we were kids from Needham, Massachusetts, although one of the guys was from Roxbury. Closer into the city, and we would play covers of whatever was going on, whatever singles were coming out from Boston bands at that time. A lot of the power pop bands. We did the Elevators, we did the Atlantics, we did Mission to Burma, the Neighborhoods, all kinds of really seminal Boston bands. All that, and tons of Cars, of course. And so I have some tapes of that. Buried away.
Any Ray Paul and RPM?
No, we did not. Sorry, Ray. That didn't get quite into the rotation there. I might have introduced it, but it was probably shot down by the other two guys.
It was a power trio.
Yeah, we had rotating bass players. Like we had we never could find a bass player to anchor things down. So the extra guitarist always had to play bass.
Right.
Or guitar. We rotated. But we were good. It was a good band.
Excellent.
How much? So obviously you were playing the Boston bands, but was the new wave scene, with all the bands that are now in the pantheon of that genre, did that have a profound effect on you? I would have a feeling it did.
I'm not sure if I follow your question. Which the bands of that era?
The new wave. I mean, when new wave came to be, and you had Elvis Costello and the Clash, and everybody else.
No, I was. I was a very precocious kid. If you haven't discerned that already, I was buying import singles in 75.
Yeah.
Wow.
I bought little Johnny Jewel from Terry Ork, direct. A little note from him saying thanks for the. I still had that still, and just I was highly influenced by everything going on with punk. So when new wave came, I embraced all that as well, but I still was listening to everything else at the time too. Like I have these skeletons in the closet like everybody. Like I'm a huge Styx fan. I love Styx. I have every album by Styx. And I have every album by, here, get ready, folks. And I can still sing them, the songs of the classic era of Christopher Cross.
Whoa.
Yeah, no, I just like, okay, watch everybody fleeing right now, dropping off.
Yeah, we're watching our viewership
recoil, go away. Well, come on, it's like the hormones are kicking in. I was trying to figure out navigating, finding a girlfriend, and nothing like Christopher Cross to trying to woo the ladies, which
wow, there you go.
A distant goal for most of high school.
I completely missed that when I was. No wonder I never got any ladies. I never played them Christopher Cross.
Well, David came down on me when I said, Dan Hartman, sometimes when we touch, that's how I got my first girlfriend. That was all. And he was like,
you mean Dan? Right. I'm going to come down on you now, Mark, because it was Dan Hill.
Not Dan Hill, sorry.
No, that was,
Dan Hill. Sometimes when we touch, and he just went, yeah.
Oh, my God, yeah. I do.
But,
yeah, for most of us, it was sometimes when I touch.
Rarely.
I hope you all got that one.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
So what were you doing? What were you doing in the 80s?
What was I doing in the 80s? Well, I went off to college in 81. Oh, I hope this isn't too biographical and too stiff and sterile for folks. But yeah, my journey actually into the music business shifted into gear that freshman year. First semester, because of course, the fall semester of 81, I went to a small school in Ohio called Wittenberg University, good Lutheran school. And that's where I met my wife. Nice. So we've been together almost 40 years now. And the first trip that I made was to the radio station, so I walked in and I was like, this was the dream, and there was no music business studies back then like there are now. There wasn't anything like that in the 80s, really. Yeah. So you couldn't study the business of music then, which is what I wanted to do. So I walk into the station and the music director's there, and I'm like, I want to be a DJ. What do I got to do? And he's like, I'll never forget what he looked at. He was essentially like, kid, this is what you got to do. You available at Sunday morning, 3 a.m. to 6 a.m.? I don't know what I'm saying. I said yes. And he's like, well, you got your first shift. You're going on this Saturday, so it was like, so you're out partying on Saturday nights, and then you got to stay up till 3 o'clock to do the show. And I did my first show within like 2 weeks on campus. And he hated what I would play all this sort of like lots of power pop, which was abhorrent, to cool music directors in college in 1981. They didn't want power. Pop was already uncool.
They still don't.
What's that? Yeah, in fact, yeah, it still isn't. But I mixed in like punk and like AOR stuff, and just to piss him off, I would play Toto. I would follow the Sex Pistols with Toto.
I have the Toto box set. Is that a guilty pleasure?
No. Oh my God! Don't even get me going on Toto, man. Oh man, I collect. No, I'm serious. I'm not a collector.
I collect Toto.
I have everything by Toto. But I collect. This gets much geekier than this, you guys. Get ready. I collect vinyl and CD records with anything that from Steve Lukather and Jeff Porcaro. And literally anybody who played in, David Hungate, whoever, all the Porcaro brothers. If they appeared on something, I bought it, which they did throughout the 70s and 80s. So there's literally hundreds of records that I have just with that. But I'm very passionate. I believe Jeff Porcaro is one of the absolute greatest drummers to ever sit behind a riser, there.
I believe he played on Klaatu's Endangered Species. I think
did he really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I did not know that.
Yeah, Endangered Species was primarily recorded by session people out in L.A. Wallace Chuck played a little bit of bass, but Porcaro was one of the guys that played on a number of the tracks. Lee Sklar played bass on a number of the tracks.
Yeah, all those guys too. Yeah, I mean, all those guys with Russ Kunkel, Lee Sklar, Danny Korchmar. You know, I still buy all records that those guys appeared on too.
Yeah.
Being there, but you know, I mean, at root, I'm still a punk. There, but when NotLame started, we're jumping ahead a little bit here, but anyway, through the 80s, we'll get to that, I guess. But so music director, and then graduated from college. I spent a year living in Germany, and I did an intern, kind of like an internship at the United Nations in Geneva. There in between, and got back, and my girlfriend, now wife, we moved to Boulder, Colorado, where I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do with my life. So I became a rock climber, and I started managing a band there, and I started doing concert promotion for shows coming through there, and then I went out to LA in 1987 to seek my fame and fortune. Of course, I wanted to be an A&R guy. I came up with a direct response marketing strategy to get interviews going out there that was actually very, very cool. I got a bunch of interviews with record labels going out there through trying this. I don't know if anybody knows what direct response marketing is. That I did that, and it worked. But I didn't get a job, unfortunately. But I did extra work on TV shows and movies for like 9 months.
Really?
Yeah. I worked anything that happened in late '87, early '88. I was on all kinds of things, all kinds of stories on those times on the movie sets and TV sets. Very, very funny. And I guess, I managed Sam Goody stores in the Valley, Sherman Oaks Galleria, the Beverly
That's
Street.
where, when I first moved out to California in '82, I worked at the Sherman Oaks Galleria. Not long after Fast Times.
At Sam Goody?
Pardon?
At the Sam Goody store?
No.
Oh.
In one of the corporate offices in the Imperial Bank building.
Yeah.
But hell, I went to that Sam Goody's a few times.
Yeah. Well, that was
Small world.
And then I was interning at IRS Records at the same time, so I was balancing 20 hours there and managing record stores full time. Took a detour in 1990. I managed her hair care company for 4 years.
Whoa!
Made shampoo and conditioner and hairsprays and all kinds of things. But that's where I cut my teeth, in terms of business skills.
Yeah.
Which came in, and then life in LA got too much. It was crazy with the Rodney King riots. I came close to getting caught in those. I remember driving up over the 405, coming out of just missing the craziness going on down there by minutes, and watching the plumes of smoke on the city. Everybody was pulling off on the side of the 405, looking down into LA, watching the city burn. And I was going, I think I've had enough of this. And my wife and I basically sold everything, took a loss on the condo that we bought because there was a recession in Southern California in '93. We just landed in Aspen. No jobs, no anything. And just sort of early midlife crises, I guess you could say, rebooted our lives. Just had an amazing time. But that's where NotLame started. So it came out of that. Let's
segue into that. Yes.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. I'm talking too much.
No,
you're interviewing me.
That's the idea.
That's the idea.
We don't want to have to do any work.
Yeah, of course. We like to bring a sentence up and let you go. It's great.
NotLame obviously was a very novel idea at the time, and one that carried with it a lot of risk because you were dealing with a genre that was not happening in the mainstream, obviously, but something that you loved, and you went to great lengths to make it happen, didn't you?
Yeah, there's a lot of stories kind of connected to that. The great lengths, though, connected to the Jellyfish box set is sort of a classic one. But yeah, there were a lot of punk labels, at that time. And I just had, after coming out of, working at IRS Records for a bit, and it was actually Primitive Man that I did most of the work out of, which was a subsidiary that had the Bears on it. Concert promotion, and then, I became the music director of the radio station eventually. And doing all that kind of work, I decided in that reboot kind of scenario that I wanted to do something that I've always wanted to do, which was start a record label. So this is 1994, and there were plenty of other labels, punk labels and stuff like that, but nobody was doing power pop. Nobody was leaning into it, saying, this is what I am, emblazoned across your music loving soul, saying, I am power pop. And I was. And David, you will recall at this time, because we were already in touch during these years. We connected, Jordan Oakes, John Borak, David Bash, myself, those very early days of AOL in 1990-91. There were people that were conglomerating, in this nascent developing pre-internet structure, and communicating with each other and writing handwritten letters with want list, and we were trading tapes. I still have your top 100 of all time lists from 1992 that you typed out, David. I've told you this before. I still have that, and I use that. I have all my notes on it for what I was missing and what I wanted. And, we did that kind of thing, because that's what you had to do if you were going to check these things off your want list, right? I mean, this is what we did throughout the 80s, throughout the 70s. We were pen pals with other dudes all over the world, trying to locate and find these import records that we couldn't find. And I pulled off we're going on a trajectory off to the side here a little bit, but it's related to everything that people that are listening to this. So I pulled off the shelf last week the first Trouser Press Guide from 1983, January 1983. And I decided I'm going to reread this again. And I would encourage you, anybody who's reading, who's hearing this and has that book. Well, if you don't have it, you should get it. But pull it off the shelf and read Ira Robbins' intro to it. It's very prescient. It's very profound and very in the context of its time. And it was fascinating how aware of coming out of this period of magnificent, life-changing landscape of the music industry of that time his introduction is. And he had a high grasp of the history that had just happened, and it's over. It's got a gravestone on it, even though he's not putting that in there. And it was like, it made me feel so thankful that I was a young music fan of that time. And I experienced everything that happened from 1975 to 1982, because those years, people like to talk about, the mid-late 60s and everything going on with all those eras that we all so very much love. But, we're not part of the boomer generation. And we didn't have that. We certainly didn't have that free love stuff either. In our age, we missed that.
I had to pay for all of my love. It's true.
Yeah, it wasn't free.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, David.
Question.
We'll do the therapy session when we turn off the camera. I'm here for you always. Always.
All right.
Yeah. I know
you see the proof. Do you see this question? Do you see this question that's up there for you?
No. Did you have some involvement with Castle? Oh my God, I was too young for then. When Nick Gilder, I got the first. Oh, now there's funny stories. Growing up in Boston, I got that first Nick Gilder record, a promo of it when it first came out, at a porn shop in like early 77. So what was 14-year-old Bruce doing in a porn shop in the combat zone, which was a very dangerous area of Boston for those in the know back then? Well, I heard a tip from someone that these porn shop got a lot of promos from record companies, and they would put them on the floor. And so I ventured into this shop. Oh my God, my kids!
They got more.
I realized.
Get it?
I just realized right now my kids are probably gonna.
I'm just really worried.
So seriously, I walked in there. You know, I'm obviously underage.
So as you pried them from the floor,
so I go in, and the guy looks up and he says, "Are you 18?" And it's like, and I literally just looked down at the ground. This is the first time, so he let me back in afterwards, and I say, "I'm here for the music." Swear to God, hand to the skies. And I heard you have albums here, and he's like, yeah, go over there, you know, by the curtain in the back. But no, it wasn't quite like that. It was by the counter there. And so I just went rifling through, and I got so many great records that first day. And one of them was Nick Gilder's. So a long question answered there, but that album was just unbelievable to me, because it had everything that you read about, like in Bomp magazine, which I was reading at that time. And you would hear about, you know, the glitter scene and everything going on in LA in 75, 76. And it was like this magical world that was, you know, halfway around the world that Greg Shaw and all the people writing on the scene, and Lisa Fancher, and who went on to found Frontier Records. Talk about a legend. That woman's a legend. And you know, people like that is what inspired me to start NotLame, by the way. Greg Shaw and Lisa Fancher from Frontier Records. It was like, you know, they're just regular people, and I can do this too. But anyway, I bought so many records. There were so many amazing records, and they would be $3 for $1, you know, buying all of these. So I still had that Nick Gilder record. And
white label.
But I was 14 to answer that question. When that record came, that was on Chrysalis.
Yeah.
So are you talking about the Rock Tonight, Rock America record? That was Casablanca, right?
Yeah, that was later. I think.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was the question that was being asked. Probably it was the Casablanca years with Rock America.
Right,
God, I hated that fucking record. I was so disappointed.
This is what I do.
Oh man, I was
Rock
so
America.
disappointed, man. I was crestfallen when that record came out. I was like, what on earth happened? And it was like a lesson of the machinery, the music business, trying to manipulate an artist and sublimate their creative genius.
We could tell stories about artists who sold out for hours and hours.
I'm more pragmatic
Hello,
because I was part of the
Ambrosia.
machinery for so long. I understand that and respect that because the music business is such a risky environment on which to engage in any kind of entrepreneurial activity. And I certainly, had my sufferings. Like probably most anybody that's listening to this right now, we all have our scar tissue that you come out on the other side of with this, especially when you're just following your heart and your passion with that. But if I did it all over again, I'm sure I'd make the same mistakes because how NotLame did deals. That's another question. It was like, yeah, I love the record. Let's do it.
Bruce, you went to great, like I mentioned, you went to great lengths to make NotLame happen financially. Did you not max out all your credit cards at that time
No, I only had one credit card when NotLame started. I bought a computer with it, and I knew email was in 1994 was the secret. It was clear to me, with how we were communicating, like people like you. And David, I was helping Jordan. I helped Jordan Oakes with a couple issues using Microsoft Publisher in 1992 to help him lay out a few pages, as I recall. Issue 4, issue 5 of Yellow Pills. And I realized,
absolutely, Andy. Yeah.
That it was just amazing. And so I reached out to bands that I read about in magazines at that time, like Option Magazine was still going at that time, and any place that where I could get an email address, from AOL. And was AOL a CompuServe back then?
Right.
For everybody, and just said, "Hey, I'm starting a record label. Send me your demos," essentially. And it started as a hobby. It was that simple. I did not have any grandiose plan. I did not have a business plan. And within 9 months, it was a full-time job. It was unbelievable. It was just, it wasn't any divination of my business acumen or anything like that. It was just the perfect timing of niching down to a very specific, passionate audience whose language I could speak authentically to,
right,
and just geek out with. And the whole world was expanding. Now you could reach an audience that was so expansive and outside of having to write letters. And it was just a beautifully touched time, and I leaned into it, and my entrepreneurial soul took over. I didn't max out credit cards or anything like that. I still, we didn't have kids yet then in those early days. Kirsten came along in '97, but it was really magical. And and one of the first demos I heard was that I was sent was Michael Mazzarella sent me the first Brooks record, and I'm like, WTF? Wow. I mean, this is amazing. I mean, I just started, making phone calls and making deals. That it wasn't much to making a deal. It was all mostly oral and such. But I became very passionate about certain bands early on. And
what was your first release?
Well, it was 2 releases. Of course, I couldn't do things half-assed. I had 2 releases actually 3 releases in the same time. The only vinyl release that NotLame ever did was the 4-song Pez Band EP.
Oh, yeah.
Of unreleased demos. And then Sympophony and Double Dose of Pop.
Double Dose, yeah.
So I broke all rules from the beginning with those first 2 CDs. And what I mean by that is, and I don't know what I was thinking. I just was thinking with my heart, and it worked out fine. But Double Dose of Pop was a CD that had 2 bands on it, split. Right. So you had essentially a full album, 8-9 songs from one band, the Rooks and 20 Cent Crush. Phil Rosenthal, if you're out there, God, I miss you. I'd love to see you
Phil.
In LA next, Phil.
Fine gentleman.
What's that? Oh gosh, absolutely. And like, what possessed me to do that? I mean, it was just because I was in love with both of these bands, and I didn't have the money to do 2 separate releases, so I just patched them. And then the compilation, I was utterly convinced I was on a stroke of genius. Of course, I wasn't with Sympophony. What it was I took 5 bands and gave them each 4 songs. Right. Because for me, it was important that the band, because I was always so frustrated with compilation records, because most of them always sucked. You always were looking for 2, 3, 4 really good songs, right? Always. And then the ones that you really liked, you wanted to hear more of.
Right.
So I decided I was going to salve and fix that ailment in the construction of compilation records, and I was going to put 5 bands, each with 4 songs on it. Awesome. Just because that was really the only reason.
Well, why NotLame though? We didn't cover why name it NotLame? Yeah.
Oh, that's easy. So moving to Aspen. Oh, there's Townsend, Daryl Collins. If you're out there, oh my gosh, I got the parade of wonderful, great people. Daryl Collins is another one, like Jim Horan, amongst many others. He drew that and many other things related to NotLame endeavors over the years. Very extremely talented cartoonist. Made a living as a cartoonist for decades, as a matter of fact. Anyway, going up, we had moved to Aspen, and it was the first powder day of 1994. So it was late November. I was going up a ski lift on Aspen Mountain by myself. The snow's falling. It's just an epic day, powder day. First run of the day. And I'm going up and I'm just thinking to myself, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to start my own label. That sounds like a great idea. And it was like, and I just fully believed in it from the outset, and was like, okay, I'm going to do power pop, because I've been communicating with you, David, and Jordan and John Borak, trading tapes. And I just knew there were many, many great bands that were not being heard, that were being ignored, that weren't getting record reviews, that were being shoved to the sidelines, and they deserved a platform. They deserved the opportunity to have their music heard. And screw everybody else. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to proudly be pop. And I was coming up to the top of the lift, the ski lift. And the first name that popped in my head as I'm having all these thoughts was NotLame. Literally the first thing, like that. And I got off the ski lift, top of Aspen Mountain, rolled off my skis, got off. I went into the lobby of the restaurant at the top there, and grabbed a napkin, and I wrote NotLame down. And it's like, I like the look of it. I like the alliteration of it. It just made sense. And I went home that day and said, Ruth, I'm going to start a record label.
And what did Ruth say, pray tell?
It's one of those memories that just gets buried in the pain. No. Ruth is like, she's the most amazing woman. She's just so good-hearted. She literally saves lives and changes lives in the work that she's done for many, many years. Right now, she does amazing work in India for Dalit people, which are the lowest of the caste society there. Anyway, so she was very supportive. So there's no great shakes, but I told her the name, NotLame, and she absolutely hated it. In my moment of recollection, I said, "Great, that's the name." If Ruth is not really into music like I am,
right? Exactly.
I figured if she liked it, I must be onto something. If she didn't like it, I must be onto something.
How did the mail order company spring from the label? Was it that there were so many bands who wanted to be on the label, and you just didn't have the ability to sign them all? Or
yeah, well, I have. I'm not as organized as I look, but I do, because I am working on stuff. So I have all the NotLame catalogs here. So I'm going to answer your question very specifically with the first one. Again, Jim Horan. Again, just a great soul. Love him dearly. I wish I lived in Boston still so I could spend time with him. But I started getting all these submissions, and I couldn't release them all, right? Of course not. And it was clear that none of these people had any kind of distribution whatsoever. And I was buying mail order stuff from all kinds of companies in Los Angeles and Chicago. There was a lot of great punk stuff that was, alternate alt rock at that time coming out of Chicago, and some really good mail orders. Simple Machines, as I remember, was one out of Washington.
Oh yeah,
you remember that?
Yeah,
a lot of indie pop stuff, like Sarah Records, kind of inspired stuff. A little twee for me. I like a little more meat in my pop, and just a little more rock, RAWK, and with my roll. I just was like, what can I do here? And it just seemed perfectly natural to, as I was promoting the label's releases, to communicate with the bands, either by letter, phone or email. And email, every week it was becoming, in 1995, was becoming more prevalent. And so it was getting more efficient to be able to communicate.
Right.
And things were starting to scale. I'm just like, hey, send me 5 copies of your CD and I'll put it in my mail order catalog. And there we go, writing descriptions for each record. Oh my gosh, yeah, it was. Talk about things that do not scale. That was that I probably wrote 10,000 mini record reviews. Because how many SKUs were in at NotLame when it ended were in the database. So I just started writing, these small, very short descriptions early on. By the way, if anybody's interested in listening to this, I'd be more than happy to anybody that wants to request to send you PDFs of the NotLame catalog history.
Wow.
Drop me an email at musicgeekheaven@gmail.com. And I'll send you a link and you can download the NotLame history printed, at least up until, and then the massive color catalog. I don't know what possessed me to do something so expensive.
It looked good.
Yeah.
Do I have that right?
Seriously, drop me an email. I'd love to send you that, because as you guys know, there's a lot of very important history that's captured inside these, and that were on the website there, because it was a touch time, for in the 90s, the late 90s for power pop really was a renaissance. I'm not sure when that went to, but NotLame, if you were into power pop, I like to think it is like it was kind of the alpha and omega for pop fans. Did the label.
Absolutely.
The label never was always the money loser. With the 80-20 rule applied, 20% of the bands, resulted in sort of 80% of the success and profile, revenue wise, if that. But the mail order was more profitable and allowed things to grow. And it grew very fast. So I went from 1995, started doing it full time, and I was just so blessed.
Oh my gosh!
Timing with everything, and I was able to, we had Kirsten was born in 1997, Austin in 2000, and Ruth was able to stay home with the kids for seven years or so. Be a full-time mom, running a record label in Colorado.
And she was also a travel agent at that time, no?
Yeah, she did group travel. And she did a lot of people with the early IPO show.
She did.
Booked a lot of stuff for people's travel at that time while she was home with the kids. And but it grew so fast. I never, I got employees, and we hit. We did 7 figures, like 2 years. Did you know that?
No.
Crazy.
No.
Yeah. Literally like $1 million in sales, like 2 years. Like it was like selling power pop, and all kinds of stuff, but it was wild. But man, we had how many employees? 4 full-time employees and 1 part-time at its height for quite a few years.
But those catalogs were everything, though. I could not wait for that to come in the mail. That was just and I went through each one with a fine-tooth comb and read every single word, and it was just that was just a great part of my life. I'll tell you that much. I thank you for it.
I love doing it, man. I worked 60, 70 hours a week for years. It was I woke up early with the kids, and then but I worked only like a couple minutes from home. My office was really close. Literally, I had a 2-minute commute for many years. And then my commute went from 2 minutes to 5 minutes when NotLame grew to the next stage.
Oh my God.
I know. So, after living in LA there. I was obsessed with customer service though. And I didn't. I just always wanted to answer everything myself. I wouldn't let employees do the answering emails. So and then like 25% of NotLame's business was international. And I started not sleeping well, and I would wake up at 3 o'clock and answer email. So the people in Europe could get timely responses. And, basically I'm hardwired to sleep, still like 6 hours a night kind of thing from those years. I've never been able to break that.
Bruce, I don't mean to interrupt, but we've hit the hour, but we're going to get you on a second time if you're willing. Somebody asked a question about the jellyfish release, and I think that would be a great place to start for the next episode. But before we go,
a part 2?
Yeah, there's going to be a part 2 because we knew that an hour wasn't going to contain you.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at me just prod at the mouth. I mean, it's like you sit here and we work alone in these little offices now, and you don't interact with people. And, I am a people person.
I'll tell you what. Before we go, though, we all want to know what percentage of the albums that you described in your catalog achieve the extremely highly recommended.
That would be an awesome thing for some crazed left brain retired engineer to go through and do. I have most of the descriptions from the website saved in a massive Excel file. Not most, but probably some of them were, some got lost, some got deleted, but I have about 6,000 releases in an Excel file that were extracted off the website when it got taken down in December 2010. But not as many as people think. Of course, I had the recommended, the very highly recommended, and the extremely highly recommended.
And you've become associated with that phrase.
Yeah,
I mean, it's going to be on your tombstone.
But
I can't think of one person who's more associated with one phrase than you with extremely highly recommended.
Yeah. But I meant it. We know. We spoke, we have our language, us peeps, we have our language and we have those like triggers. And the secret name droppings, because we were conditioned, right? In the 70s and 80s, you had to like extract out of these magazines, Hit Parader, Cream, Rolling Stone, Trouser Press. You would hear that, you'd see these descriptive verbs,
right?
Remember, right. And if they heard, flowery, lots of vocals, those were like what
harmony laden,
it was a beam, being communicated from another dimension, and you had to do research. That was like you needed to do further research.
And with your catalog, I had a budget, and if I came down to all my list of things, and one was highly recommended, and one was extremely highly recommended, I always went with the extremely highly recommended, and that made a difference to me.
The idea was to match up, people's, and that's why I did so many sound bites back in those days. You know how much there were almost 100,000 sound bites, and I would take a CD and I would listen to all them, and I would put on a sticky note which songs to do the sound bites of that were most emblematic of the record, not necessarily the best songs, the ones that were like would be emblematic of what they would sound like. And I would put like in like not from the beginning, but like a minute in when a chorus would kick in or something like that. So people could be empowered to make intelligent decisions, matching up those descriptions with their own personal tastes, and say, I'm not so into jellyfish.
Right,
I'm not into the frosting era posies or whatever was dropped, and because the idea was to give people as much information as possible to make an informed, intelligent choice with the catalogs in the online store.
We are so thankful that you were able to come and do this.
Very much so.
We want you back for sure. Starting with the Jellyfish League, going into Pop Geek Heaven, what you're doing now, all that kind of stuff.
Hey, I got to talk to you too next time about.
Oh yeah.
The Shazam, big reissue.
There you go.
Big reissue project coming up.
Wow.
Oh wow.
With Hans Major. Godspeed is going to be reissued on double vinyl. And a 3 CD set.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yep, we've been working on this for a year and a half. It's not going to be, I don't know what it's going to be. I'm just sort of executive producer on this, but we have a team of some wonderful people that have been working together, and Brad Jones is on it as well.
Looking forward to part 2. Absolutely. Bruce, thank you so much for
thanks
taking
again.
the time to be with us.
And ladies and gentlemen,
there will be a pleasure and an honor.
There will be a part 2. There's just too much to talk about. It's just too darn interesting. I can't wait. We'll pick up, the NotLame years, the Jellyfish, everything. We'll do that in part 2. That's going to give something for people to really look at.
Well, thank you for indulging all my spewage.
Oh, this has been wonderful. This has been wonderful. Our
pleasure.
Much. Awesome. Everybody, thank you for joining in, and make sure you join the Facebook group, you subscribe to YouTube, tell all your friends, because if you do, you'll be notified not only with all of our special guests coming up, but you'll be notified when Bruce Brodeen Part 2 will be coming to Material Issues with Mark Hirschberger and David Bash. Bruce, thank you again so much. Stay happy, healthy, grateful, my friend.
Yeah, everyone stay safe.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Living life.